The economic empowerment of women include issues as equal opportunities for economic leadership, equal access to economic resources, ownership and control over land and other forms of property, financial services, inheritance and natural resources. Progress in these areas requires systematic consideration of gender issues, for instance, job creation, employment, decent work and ownership and control of economic resources. In addition to addressing women's participation and leadership in economic life, gender equality and women's empowerment require women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision-making in political and public life. According to Sustainable Development Goal 5, there is a provision for achieving gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls for the 2030 Agenda for the SDGs. Realizing gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls will make a crucial contribution to progress across all the goals and targets. This edition of Islamic Finance Weekly will focus on SDGs, women empowerment, and Islamic economy. To give further insight on this is the founding director of Education Partnership UK Limited and also an ambassador on implementation of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, Mrs. Saeeda Ahmed. Good afternoon, Mrs. Saeeda, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Starting with Islamic economics as a system, Mrs. Saeed, how does it and its principle key into this effort in achieving the 2030 SDG and the 17 goals?
The Islamic economy has a phenomenal synergy with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And that synergy actually allows for economic and social justice to be built within the Islamic economy itself. So the areas of, for example, making sure that there's a chance, equal chance for trade, for the opportunity of women to fulfill that trade roles, for the types of services we provide and how we conduct our business. If you look at the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, it's about zero hunger, it's about gender equality, it's about education, health and well-being, partnership working. The very basis of the Islamic economy has those principles plus more. So actually, I would say that the Islamic economy has further aspects in there, which even the 17 SDGs don't cover.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Saeeda, for sharing your perspective with us on the Islamic economic system, how it pertains with the SDGs 2030 agenda. All right, there is wide recognition of the strong linkage between women's empowerment and improved development outcomes, which can significantly contribute to poverty reduction and the strengthening of economic growth. What do you consider as the opportunities Islamic finance can offer in addressing poverty and deepening financial empowerment for women in climes like Nigeria?
The opportunities are significant that the Islamic finance, the Islamic economy can provide. It can provide opportunities to trade, entrepreneurship, not just micro entrepreneurship, but growth of micro enterprises into larger scalable businesses, SMEs, for example. The other is that it can actually provide a global platform for buying and selling products and services and skills that some of the women in Nigeria may have. The other area is not just about the entrepreneurship angle, but also for economic participation and social participation. So it could be, for example, working in enterprises or in institutions which are supported through Islamic finance and the ethical sector. The other area is around education and skills. When you know that there's a place where your skills are being utilized, you're not being exploited, you could either be working for yourself or you could be working for others. it gives you options that were not previously available. And unfortunately, in the current world as we see it, there is a real major issue about how women are being exploited, young people are being exploited, and the economic hardships that they're facing, the social hardships they're facing, without a clear route of support. If we actually utilize and involve the Islamic economy in the truest sense of what it was meant to be, rather than necessarily what its form is currently, we have the opportunity for empowerment, economic growth, self-awareness, well-being, which in turn builds healthy societies, healthy economies, and healthy industries. And it contributes to innovation and growth and the recognition of skills that have previously not been utilized for the benefit of those individuals or countries.
Yes, Mrs. Saeeda, you made some very important points here, that products and services, small and medium enterprises, economic empowerment are very crucial for the growth of these Islamic economies and the SDG 2030 agenda. So how do you think Nigeria can come in with all these points you mentioned here?
The first thing is actually vision. The first thing is actually vision. Vision and belief that we should go for models of excellence. Okay. I'm currently working with UNGSI and some of the European governments in terms of helping to invest in Africa across different parts of Africa. So there could be specific provisions that could be relevant for Nigeria or for other parts of Africa. And the other thing is that's very important is that Nigeria develops its vision itself, but that vision is ambitious. It's not defined by what others believe that Nigeria should have, but what Nigeria wants for itself, for its people, both men and for women. And it's important that we develop balanced economies and societies. So what you don't do is, in the pursuit of gender equality, you think that that's the pursuit of economic advancement of women and not the economic advancement of both men and women, because you create different types of problems and different types of issues which will then need addressing at a later stage. So the opportunities are as vast as what is out there at the moment. And I think that the current and the future needs of not just Nigeria but the world gives you the backdrop of where those opportunities might be.
Okay, thank you so much for that. In terms of goal 17 of the SDG, which look at partnership, how can nations like Nigeria explore deeper levels of collaboration with Islamic finance multilateral institutions to lift 100 million people from poverty in the next 10 years?
One of the things that partnership working has to be looked at in a context where you're not approaching one institution but many different institutions within the country, and there has to be a connectivity within the country. That connectivity can then also link to, for example, the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries, which there's 50 member states. There's the Islamic Development Bank.
There's Nigeria is part of the OIC member.
Yes. And then there's the African Union. And then there's partnerships with, say, for example, the US or the United Nations or the European Union. This all depends on how Africa and particularly Nigeria positions itself. And if your goal is to have 100 million people out of poverty, for example, then you need to look at where do you want those people to be? Do you want them to be employed? Do you want them to have self-employment? Do you want them to be economically participating within Nigeria or internationally? And I think that the position of the Islamic finance and the Islamic economy is about looking at, it's an over 3.2 trillion economy globally. And most of those needs are currently unmet. So if it wants to position itself into that space, it needs to look at where are the current unmet needs, and could Nigeria become a country of excellence for fulfilling that particular need? But before it does that, I think it's really important not to look at the Islamic finance or the Islamic economy state as it is, because I still think it's quite young. It's still developing as an economic model in terms of our current readoption of it. We need to look at the root causes of the Islamic, the root causes or values of the Islamic economy, which is in a fair way ethics. It's about integrity and looking at those underpinning principles and values, which then have to be employed within the people of that 100 million. Because before you participate in a space, you have to agree to the conditions that come with that space: honesty, integrity, compassion, team working, looking after one another, and so forth. It can't be like, oh, well, that looks like something we can make a lot of money in. What do we need to do? Rather than saying that that's a space that we can really participate in, and this is what we're bringing to the table.
Yes, I agree with you. Collaboration is key to the development of the Islamic finance in Nigeria. This is where the stakeholders and the experts, other institutions need to support and work together in order to, even the private sector, in order to support the government and make this work. Thank you very much. In Nigeria, the population of out-of-school children is over 13 million, with girls accounting for over 40% of the statistic. You see, most of them are in the northwest and northeast region, which are predominantly Muslims. From your role as a United Nations advisor on SDGs in OIC country, what steps can be taken to increase funding for girl child education in the country?
First of all, I think that where you look at this whole space, you need to take a holistic approach. A holistic approach of how much females are out of education and economic participation and how many males. Because you may find that also the males are not participating in the education system. For example, one of my good friends and colleague, Rahma Hersi, and has been working in the space of women's empowerment and education and enterprise activities. There's others that have been involved in this space that have got knowledge of the working conditions and the challenges that are faced locally. Because what you can't do is pick up a model from another country that does not have the same problems that someone from, for example, that particular state would encounter. You need to be able to pick up the different types of knowledge from all different sectors and different countries, and then look at what works in that particular state. Where the Islamic and the actual Islamic finance and the Islamic economy is concerned, once you've developed an area which follows in the principles of the Islamic economy, which is ethical, it's clean, it's principled, it's a positive business for society or a positive service for society, then you look at see which of those financial institutions will be able to support what that vision is for that particular state. And it's really important that women are involved in that decision making delivered at women by people in other countries. But actually there's a local Nigerian woman context, there's a local context of that particular state, as well as nationally and internationally. And the thing is that it's not about the short term only, but it's about the long term picture, and having the buy-in of governments, of politicians of all different backgrounds to say, look, it doesn't matter who comes in. This is something we're developing as a vision for the state, and it's a 10-year model. So you get the buy-in of all the key people, because some instances, one political party may introduce something, and although it's an excellent model, by the time the next government comes in, the project might stop. So you need to have projects and processes which buy into it, which are not dependent on which political party comes in, but has the stamp of approval from more than one And I think that where the SDGs are concerned, the Sustainable Development Goals, as I was talking yesterday with my colleagues at UNGSI, there's phenomenal opportunities in healthcare and well-being, around enterprise, around housing that is sustainable and so forth. So there's no reason why people who are wanting to go into that space couldn't be given the skills and the support to enter that space. And then where the financial institutions are concerned, they provide the funding and the financial resources to enable those types of programs and enterprises to come to fruition.
As the founding director of Education Partnership UK Limited, how can you integrate EdTech to provide digital solutions to learning for young women and the girls in Nigeria? Partnering with tertiary institutions, secondary and primary schools addressing the SDG Goal 4 of quality education.
Education Partnerships has already got a number of models for education participation, from nursery school, kindergarten, right up to postgraduate degrees. Those are for the academic qualification, where it's a tailor-made bespoke program, and whether somebody's in a remote village within a particular state of Nigeria, or whether they're actually in a city anywhere in the world, they would be able to have a tailored education for their particular needs. But we don't believe in an education for the sake of education. We create a holistic solution. So there would be education, there would be soft skills, there would be well-being, character building, a sustainable excellence program which contributes to the 17 sustainable development goals. There's also a skills component. So we have got over 480 courses which are skills based, everything from baking to being a hairdresser to doing particular types of skills or crafts, where individuals could actually utilize those skills and set up micro enterprises or businesses for themselves. So we've developed solutions that are culturally respectful and responsive, and also flexible, and these are online. They can either be delivered in such a way which is through an instructor and some self-study, or wholly self-study, just going through the self-learning activities.
My takeaway from this conversation is that we talk about, for Nigeria to achieve the 2030 agenda of the 17 SDG goals, there is need for collaboration, long-term project plan, and skills empowerment for the cities in order to lift 100 million people out of poverty. Thank you so much, Mrs. Saeeda Ahmed, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much.
Indeed, the achievement of full human potential and of sustainable development is not possible if one half of humanity continues to be denied its full human rights and opportunities. The women and girls must enjoy an equal access to quality education, economic resources, and political participation, as well as equal opportunities with men and boys for employment, leadership, and decision-making at all levels. The private sector can play a vital role by leveraging Islamic finance to realize the Sustainable Development Goals. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Join us next week for another topic on Islamic finance. For further updates on Islamic finance, log on to our website, www.proshareng.com. Also, you can engage us on our social media platform displaying on the screen. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.